Nightcore. By now you probably heard of it. I don't really think I have to go too in depth on what it is. It's a pretty simple concept. Pre-existing songs sped up with their pitch increased. Nightcores are incredibly popular on YouTube, with some even raking in more views than the original song. But there are plenty that feel that these view counts are unjustified. Personally, I just started listening to Nightcore about last month, and gotta say, they're pretty darn good. It might be my bias talking, but I never really got the hate. I'd say at worst the Nightcore version adds nothing to the original song but doesn't downright make it worse, and at best, Nightcores can actually be better than the original song. Before I go in depth, let's get a few things out of the way. First of all, if you dislike how Nightcore sounds and find that the Alvin and the Chipmunks-esque vocals are a turn-off, that's perfectly reasonable. I'm not here to change your personal music preferences. I'm arguing against people who claim that Nightcores are unethical in nature. Second of all, Nightcores do not require any effort to make, and I'm not going to pretend like they do. Third of all, I would say that Nightcore YouTubers take themselves a bit too seriously nowadays, since it seems like they're actually trying to make a career out of this, as opposed to back in the day where it was just a bunch of teens messing around with some random songs. I also dislike how most modern Nightcores have lyrics in the middle of the screen with all these fancy edits, either that or they show the song's moving waveform, or whatever that sound thing is called in most voice recording software. This was likely made in response to people claiming that Nightcore YouTubers don't put any effort into their content. I feel like they're trying to fix something that was never actually broken to begin with. Just give us the Nightcores with a static anime wallpaper, and maybe, just maybe, lyrics, but only at the corner of the screen. For me personally, the ideal experience of watching a Nightcore is going, hey, that's some cool anime art for like 10 seconds before spacing out to the music. I know, at the end of the day, a good song is still a good song, regardless of how corporate it feels, but it kind of feels like these YouTubers are trying to Nightcore every song that they come across. I just realized that you can use Nightcore as a noun, adjective, and a verb. Sweet. This leads into my fourth and final point. Nightcore does not make every song better. There are plenty of songs that simply don't translate well into Nightcore at all. I'd say that for the most part, Nightcore works best with dance music that just needs that little bit of additional energy. I don't really know much about the hundreds of music subgenres, so I might be using the term dance music a bit too broadly, or I might just flat out be using the wrong term altogether. But just so you know, I'm not talking about songs with an EMD instrumental break after the chorus. It works well with songs from Cascada and Italo Brothers, but not so much for songs like No Friends. The reason why is that, and I know I sound stupid for saying this, but hear me out. Nightcores work best when they don't actually feel like Nightcores. Allow me to elaborate. With a lot of Nightcores, you can easily tell that the song was pitch shifted and sped up. Yes, I know that's how these things are made, but it's just so immersion breaking. The best Nightcores are the ones that feel like you're actually listening to an original song, where it's supposed to be as fast as it is, and the high-pitched vocals can easily pass off as a gimmick. In other words, mostly Eurodance music from around the late 90s to late 2000s. This isn't me saying new music bad, old music good, or America bad, Europe good. I just can't see a lot of American pop music of today translating well to Nightcore. Except Angel with a Shotgun, the Nightcore version slaps. With all that out of the way, let's address the common complaints that people have against Nightcore. Oh, they're profiting off of uncredited music and anime art. While unnecessary monetization and lack of credit are common issues among Nightcore YouTubers, I've yet to find an example of these issues overlapping. In other words, most Nightcore YouTubers that monetize their videos credit both the artists and sometimes go the extra mile to link the artist's socials, while the Nightcore YouTubers that don't credit the artists simply don't monetize their work. As for the latter, it's important to note that they mostly came and went during the early 2010s, which was before YouTube was really known for its copyright rules, so it's safe to say that they simply didn't know better. Additionally, while Nightcore was a trend in the early 2010s, the mid-2010s was when it really started to take off. So it's more than likely that they simply weren't aware of the impact that their videos would then have. To put this into perspective, the Nightcore YouTuber Alice Bloodrabbit never credits anybody. I actually went on a goose chase trying to find the anime used in one of their thumbnails. At the time of their last video in 2012, they only had 150 subs. Now they have over 137,000 subs. Even though it seems like the popularity of Nightcore has dwindled, it's still apparently more popular now than it was in the early 2010s. Speaking of popularity, let's address another complaint that people have against Nightcore. Oh, Nightcore often gets more views than the original song. It's not fair to the original artist who actually put in effort. Alright, so first of all, Nightcore versions outcompeting the original in terms of views isn't as common as some would suggest. Sure, it does happen from time to time, but it's by no means a given, and by that logic, the most viewed YouTube video would be Nightcore Baby Shark. Second of all, how exactly? At most, the original artist might find it embarrassing, but how exactly is the Nightcore version getting more views detrimental to them in any sort of way? Sure, you can argue that Nightcores are stealing potential ad revenue by outcompeting the original songs, but even then, that argument falls flat when you begin to analyze it. Those familiar with the original song will probably still listen to it, and those unfamiliar with the original song probably weren't going to listen to it in the first place. If anything, more people might listen to the original just to see how it differs from its Nightcore counterpart. In fact, let's talk about what has to be one of the most well-known examples of a Nightcore having more views than its original counterpart. You probably already know what I'm talking about. Say it with me, Rockefeller Street. Well, technically, WW should be a more prominent example since it has 51 times the views of the original as opposed to Rockefeller's 13, but it's arguably too big of an example, and a lot of people actually think that the Nightcore version is the original, so there's that. Anyway, let me get this out of the way. I don't really like the original Rockefeller Street, which is a shame because the vocals, instrumentals, and the melody are all good. It's just that, dear God, is the song slow as heck. I can understand slow songs, but it genuinely feels like it was supposed to have more energy. In other words, it feels like an acoustic cover of the Nightcore version. The Nightcore version, on the other hand, is a complete bop. It adds that additional bit of energy that was missing from the original. In the comment section of the original, there are quite a few people claiming it's unfair that the original artist put a lot of effort into the song, only for someone to steal it, lightly modify it, and get more views. Alrighty, there are quite a few things here to address. First of all, while she obviously put a lot of effort into recording, just so we're on the same page here, the person who sang Rockefeller Street, yeah, she did not actually write the song. It was written by someone else for her to sing at Eurovision. Besides, I highly doubt that the artist has even been to the Rockefeller Center at the time of the song's release. Second of all, the original artist seems to have stepped away from the spotlight, having graduated from night school in 2015, and she hasn't put out a single since 2016, so she probably doesn't really care about what her career could have been. And if she doesn't, why should you? Third of all, these comments almost seem to paint the Nightcore Witcher as some sort of malicious music thief who stole someone's underground song, lightly modified it, and then slapped some anime girls onto the thumbnail with the intention of getting a lot of views. Yeah, that's not really what happened here, like at all. For starters, the Nightcore Witcher didn't actually make the Nightcore. I know you guys are probably saying, well, doesn't that make them worse since they're a thief of a thief? Well, not really. The Nightcore Witcher makes it clear from the description of their videos that they simply upload Nightcores to YouTube that they find from the game Asu, so that the people of YouTube can access them. Although they're apparently unaware that Rockefeller Street Nightcore was originally on YouTube before it was on Asu, but I digress. Another point I've seen is, oh, They're using anime to draw in the attention of weebs. Okay, so most of the anime art for Nightcore isn't fan art of popular anime, but actually original art from self-published works, some of which have some pretty questionable content to say the least. I actually heard a lot of messed up things about the plot of Rockefeller Street's thumbnail. Okay, so I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent here. Even if the thumbnails aren't necessarily suggestive, I still think it's quite bothersome that kids are watching these, unaware of the fact that the thumbnail is from a literal eroge. Now, I can't find the exact reason for the unspoken rule that all Nightcores must have anime thumbnails, but one claim I've heard being thrown around is that Nightcore songs sorta sound like anime OPs, which I can sorta get, but anime OPs are not necessarily monolithic. Another claim that I've heard is that we're supposed to be imagining the anime girl singing the song to compensate for a lack of a music video. This actually does make a lot of sense since anime girls tend to have unnaturally high-pitched voices that sound like they've inhaled over 10 pounds of helium, much like the vocals present in Nightcore. But I'm still a little iffy on that claim, mainly because I've never really imagined that myself, at least not consciously. I would personally argue that it's because there seems to be some sort of correlation between Eurodance music, which is often made into Nightcore, and Japanese culture, which includes anime. I mean, the music video for Caramel Dancin' featured 3 anime girls dancing for nearly 3 whole minutes, and that song predates YouTube, let alone Nightcore videos. And who could forget Butterfly, which is essentially about sipping for some samurai katana, if you catch my drift. Another argument I've seen being used by detractors is they're not really making music, which I actually agree with. However, I've yet to see a Nightcore YouTuber claim to be an actual musician, even though the argument seems to suggest that at least a good chunk of them do. So all in all, Nightcore got way too much unnecessary hate. It's okay to dislike how they sound, but it's definitely a stretch to argue that they're ethically wrong. The displeasure that they're sometimes more popular than the original is especially unjustified since it comes off as the detractors bashing people for their own personal music preferences, which I should even have to say, don't do that. Overall, I hope the internet doesn't whine about some harmless trend instead of some actually serious issues again. Oh wait, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Feel free to like and subscribe. And while we're on the topic of Nightcore, feel free to check out my playlist of Nightcore jams. I'll link that in the description. And just for the heck of it, I decided to create a Nightcore myself. I'll also link that in the description if you're interested. And I'll see you guys next time, whatever that is.